I'll call this May 14th, 2013. I need a agenda. I call this May 14, 2013 regular meeting of the Brookhaven City Council to order. Invocation. Would anybody give an invocation? Any volunteers? Sure? You want to do one? Okay. All right. Didn't mean to put you on the spot. Deputy Chief Ron Freeman.
Heavenly Father, we ask you to let the decisions that are made here today be pleasing to you. We ask you that the things we do be in the name of the citizens of Brookhaven, and that everything that we do here today again is pleasing in your name. Amen.
Thank you. Yes. Would you please stand for the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I apologize to you folks for starting a little bit late, but we've got to do something real quick. We've got to do entertain a motion for an executive session. It's not going to be too long, so you don't need to leave. Maybe 10 or 15 minutes. So I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we move into executive session.
Seconded?
For two litigation matters.
For two
I move that we move into executive session to discuss two litigation matters.
Seconded?
And if we could add one real estate matter.
And one real estate matter. Anything else?
Seconded? Okay, any discussion? All in favor of going into executive session, please signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. We'll be back in just a minute, so please sit tight. Again, I apologize.
You have a hat. Check.
I move that we end the executive session.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of ending the executive session, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Executive session is ended. Sergeant Brandon Gurley.
You might be
Hello? Oh, yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Lieutenant.
Oh, it says, sorry, my fault. Lieutenant Brandon Gurley, apologize. I might as well call you General now. He is,
Well said, well said.
Lieutenant Gurley is our third police employee. He's got 14 years of experience, worked for Sandy Springs Police and Paulding Police and Paulding County Sheriff's Office. And he's doing a great job. I see him in the office every day, and we're about to swear him in. So if you'd come forward, please, I will give you this oath of office. I state your name.
I, Brandon Gurley,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will faithfully execute the office of Lieutenant
that I will faithfully execute the office of Lieutenant
of the City of Brookhaven Police Department,
of the City of Brookhaven Police Department,
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
support and defend the Constitution of the United States,
support and defend the Constitution of the United
the
States,
Constitution of Georgia,
the Constitution of Georgia,
and the Charter,
and the Charter,
ordinances,
ordinances,
and regulations of the City of Brookhaven.
and regulations of the City of Brookhaven.
I am not the holder of any unaccounted for public money,
I am not the holder of any unaccounted public money
due this state,
due this date,
or any political subdivision
or any political subdivision
or authority thereof.
or authority thereof.
I am not the holder of any office
I am not the holder of any office
of trust under the government
of trust under the government
of the United States,
of the United States,
any other state,
any other state,
or any foreign state,
or any foreign state,
which I, by the laws of the state of Georgia,
which I, by the laws of the state of Georgia,
am prohibited from holding.
am prohibited from holding.
I am otherwise qualified to hold said office
I am otherwise qualified to hold said office
according to the Constitution and laws of Georgia.
according to the Constitution and laws of Georgia.
I will perform the duties of my office
I will perform the duties of my office
in the best interest of the city of Brookhaven,
in the best interest of the city of
to the
Brookhaven,
best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
without fear,
without fear,
favor,
favor,
affection,
affection,
reward,
reward,
or expectation thereof.
or expectation thereof.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
to never betray my badge,
to never betray my badge,
my integrity,
my integrity,
my character,
my character,
or the public trust.
or the public trust.
That I will not be influenced
That I will not be influenced
in any matter on account of personal bias or prejudice.
in any matter
On any matter on account of
on
personal
account of personal bias
or prejudice.
or prejudice.
I will always have the courage
I will always have the courage
to hold myself
to hold myself
and others accountable for our actions.
and others accountable for our actions.
Congratulations. Thank you. Oh, we'll have to do it again. Wow. We usually do those together. I'm sorry, folks. We have the longest oath. I mean, somebody needs to research that. We have the longest oath in the state of Georgia, maybe the country. We have Sergeant Mike Good right here.
He's just memorized it from that.
He's got 25 years of experience and worked for the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office. So we want to welcome you, Mr. Good. If you please raise your right hand, we'll go through this again. I state your name.
Sergeant Mike Good.
You gotta say I. Sorry.
I, Sergeant Mike Good,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will faithfully execute the office
that I will faithfully execute the office
of Sergeant
of Sergeant
of the City of Brookhaven Police
of
Department
the City of Brookhaven Police Department,
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
support and defend the Constitution of the United States,
support and defend the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of Georgia,
the Constitution of Georgia,
and the Charter, ordinances, and regulations of the City of Brookhaven.
and the Charter, ordinances, and regulations of the City of Brookhaven.
I am not the holder of any unaccounted for public money due this state,
I am not the holder of any unaccounted for public money due this state,
or any political subdivision
or any political subdivision
or authority thereof.
or authority thereof.
I am not the holder of any office of trust under the government of the United States,
I am not the holder of any office of trust under the government of the United States,
any other state,
any other state,
or any foreign state which I,
or any foreign state which I,
by the laws of the state of Georgia, am prohibited from holding.
by the laws of the state of Georgia, I am prohibited from withholding.
I am otherwise qualified to hold said office
I am otherwise qualified to hold said office
according to the Constitution and laws of Georgia.
according to the Constitution and the laws of Georgia.
I will perform the duties of my office in the best interest of the City of Brookhaven,
I will perform the duties of my office in the best interest of the City of Brookhaven,
to the best of my ability without fear,
to the best of my ability, without fear,
favor,
favor,
affection,
affection,
reward,
reward,
or expectation thereof.
or expectation thereof.
I do solemnly swear to never betray my badge,
I do solemnly swear to never betray my badge,
my integrity,
my integrity,
my character,
my character,
or the public trust.
or the public trust.
That I will not be influenced in any matter on account of personal bias or prejudice.
That I will not be influenced by any man on account of personal bias or prejudice.
I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions.
I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable for our actions.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. I've signed both of these, Susan. Okay. Getting hot in here. Any agenda announcements? No, not yet. Public comment. Now is the public comment section. If you fill out a little form and give it to Ms. Hyatt, if you want to make any comments about anything, please come forward now. Ms. Hyatt, call who's ever signed up.
No one has submitted any.
All right, no public comments at this time? Going once, twice, okay. Public comment section is closed. Consent agenda. Marie?
Excuse me, sir. On your consent agenda are the minutes from the following meetings: April the 23rd, April 23rd Mayor and City Council regular minutes of the meeting, April the 23rd Council Agenda Work Session meeting minutes, approval of the April 3rd special call meeting minutes, and number 4, the clarification and approval of term limits for boards and commissions.
That was the April 30th, 2013. That last one was.
Yeah.
Did I say 12?
It says
It says
3013.
You
Oh,
said
excuse
third, and
me.
it says the 30th.
The 30th it's 3013, so it's 2013.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the consent agenda is approved. Announcements? No announcements. Any reports or presentations?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Jim's got one.
Jim's got his announcement. Okay.
My announcement, Brookhaven Bolts this Saturday, 8 o'clock at Billy's Place. Come join us. If you want to help a little earlier, they're looking for some volunteers starting about 4 in the morning. So come join us, but come out for the fun. It's a great day, and it's a fundraiser for the Ashford Park Elementary School. This is, I believe, the 8th annual Brookhaven Bolt. So come join us for a fun morning in Brookhaven.
Rebecca?
I recently had the pleasure of helping to choose the Teacher of the Year for DeKalb County, and it's still top secret, but it was really quite a thrill to go through about 20 different interviews of teachers who have been named from their schools as Teacher of the Year, and then we got it down to the district candidates as well. There are some just fantastic teachers who work so hard every day in our schools to bring their lessons to life and do it with such love and diligence and hard work. And it was really inspiring to me. And I can't tell you who's going to win, but stay tuned.
Is it my wife?
Can't say.
All right. Let's see. Any reports and presentations? Do y'all have any announcements? You two? No. Okay. No reports and presentations. Old business?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Ordinance number 2013-05-03, which is consideration and approval of an ordinance 2013-0503 as a second read to amend Chapter 25, Water, Sewer, and Sewage Disposal of the Code of the City of Brookhaven, Georgia, to adopt a new Article 5 entitled Stormwater Utility.
Okay.
This is a second read and it will require action.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll move to accept ordinance, adopt ordinance 2013-05-03 on its second read for stormwater utility.
Is there a second?
Seconded?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of adopting the ordinance signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Clerk, please enter in the minutes that it is passed. All right. Number 2.
Mr. Mayor and Council, this is an item that we are requesting that you defer until the next meeting.
All right, is there a motion?
I move we defer the approval of the intergovernmental agreement between the DeKalb and City of Brookhaven for police services.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor of approving the...
I'm sorry, let me amend my motion by deferring it to the next meeting.
Yeah. All in favor of the deferral? What, do you have to, no, you have to second that,
I'll second that.
the amendment. All right.
Yes.
Any discussion? All in favor of deferral, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, it's been deferred. Okay, new business.
Yes, item number 1, Mr. Mayor, is ordinance number 1031, public hearing RZ 13-01. The applicant is requesting for a 60-day deferral. Brad Hughes of Rockhaven Homes LLC, located at 11 Lumpkin Street, Suite 200, Lawrenceville, Georgia 30046, seeks the following: rezoning of a 3.9-acre parcel located at 1475 North Druid Hills Road, Northeast Atlanta, Georgia 30319, from R75 to RM75 to allow for the construction of a 40-unit townhome project. The tax parcel ID of the subject property is 18-200-04042. This was heard by the Planning Commission. The request by the applicant was made for deferral. The Planning Commission did recommend the deferral, and it is before you. The attorney representing the applicant is present.
All right. Motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we defer the public hearing RZ 13-01 to the July 3rd Planning Commission meeting to be heard July 9th by Mayor and Council. Actually, the July 9th would be the Planning Commission?
No, the 3rd.
No, by the Mayor and Council for a second read on July 23rd.
All right, so July 3rd for the planning, July 9th for the
Mayor and
first
Council.
read, July 23rd for the Mayor and Council second read. All right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Just want to clarify that it's, the intent of it is to get more public input, allow the opportunity for citizens to hear about the development and the developer to come up with a good plan.
And there have been no plans submitted by the developers yet that anybody can review.
Correct.
All right. Okay, any more discussion? All in favor of adopting the ordinance for the deferral, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Clerk, please enter into the minutes that it is passed. Okay, second one? First read
Yes.
of, go ahead.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. Number 2 is an ordinance 2013-0501. This is an ordinance, and it is a first read, that the charter of the city of Brookhaven, Georgia shall be amended so that upon passage, section 2-15 ordinance form procedures shall be revised. This requires no action.
Okay,
Item number 3 is an ordinance 2013-0502, an ordinance to amend Chapter 4 alcoholic beverages of the Code of the City of Brookhaven, Georgia, to amend and provide specific alcohol pouring and sales times, to adopt sales times as authorized by law and for other purposes. This is a first read. No action required.
okay.
Number 4 is a resolution.
We have a discussion on that?
I can make some comments.
Sure.
We did discuss this in our work session, and were given directive by the council from the standpoint of outreaching to our business community that holds these types of licenses, to discuss with them and get input in regards to the proposed changes to the ordinance, as well as soliciting input through the city website
Right.
by the community.
This is for closing times for the serving of alcohol.
Correct.
And we want to get input from the businesses that may be affected and from citizens who might have input as well.
Correct.
And this won't be finalized until such time as that's been done.
Correct.
All right. All right.
Item number 4 is a resolution 2013-0501, public hearing and resolution to abandon the right-of-way on property located on land lot 237 of the 18th Land District, DeKalb County, Georgia, at the right-of-way, Alta Vista Drive and Millowin, if I pronounced that correctly, place.
That was right.
Thank you, Drew Valley neighborhood. Mr. Richard Meehan, our Public Works Director, is here to present this.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is a request made by the adjacent property owner of 3 lots for the abandonment of a portion of a right-of-way of Alta Vista Drive that has no road on it right now. It's a 0.152 acre tract, and we have looked at it from Public Works. There's no use for it right now, and there is a map of the survey and also an exhibit in your packets that shows this property. Abandoning this section of right-of-way would not close the ability for us to add Alta Vista Road through the dedicated right-of-way that's there now in the future.
All right. Is there a motion on the floor?
Could you tell us some more about it, please?
Ma'am? Is there a motion on the floor?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Any discussion?
Could you tell us more about
Ma'am,
it?
we can't. This is a resolution. We already had public comment.
I know, why?
Public hearing.
It calls for the public hearing.
Public hearing and resolution.
Right at the same time? Okay, still, we can't, so we're not going to have a motion?
You hear the public.
Okay.
They
all
may
right.
come forward and
Do you have any names
comments.
for comments?
No, not for public, not for the public.
If you'd like to make comments or have questions, not questions, but comments, you have to fill out a form, and you can come up to the microphone and ask. We can't have people calling from the audience, but if you want to make a comment, please come forward, fill out your information, give it to the clerk, and then come to the microphone and state what you...
So that we can keep things moving on, can we put a stack of the forms on the podium so that they can come up and speak and then fill them out?
Yes.
And just make sure they give them to the clerk. If anybody...
Marie, I have a question about procedural. So, in this public hearing, is this, are we allowed to have a two-way conversation with the public about if it's a public hearing, or is it just comments to our board?
They can make public comments. You can ask them questions.
Can they ask staff questions?
You can ask staff questions.
Can they ask us questions? We can ask staff questions.
That would probably be an improvident precedent to set.
So this is the one and only public hearing about this matter, is that correct?
Yes.
That's correct, yeah.
The issue's probably.
We've never had this on our agenda before, and I wasn't aware that this was even possible, so we need to be briefed on that next time.
The neighbors did receive letters.
Right.
They were provided notice, and this is the public hearing, just like a rezoning or others. So,
Have we ever done this before?
On a road abandonment, no.
I have, not in Brookhaven.
Jim, wouldn't it be safe to say, if we just brought up the key point that came up in the work session, that it might even not even need to have questions on this, is that if anybody's fearful that the road is going to be cut off because of this abandonment of this land, that is not the case. There is still a right-of-way, and it is still available for development for the properties that are undeveloped along this roadway. They will still have the opportunity down the road for this.
I'm going to defer to Public Works for an answer to that. I think.
Well, listen, it says, well, can we have the public hearing? Can we go ahead and do that then? Is that okay? Yeah. Does anybody have it? Ma'am, if you have a comment, just come right up to the podium, please, or a question.
Thank you.
And you can fill out your form and give it to us later. You don't need to fill it out before.
Just tell us your name and where you live, and then fill out the form after you're done, if you don't mind.
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with.
Neither am I.
This is the first time for all of us.
On this one, we've never done it this way before.
I live with my mother at 1570 Millwood Place, which is exactly next door to Alchemist Road.
On which side?
On the Thompson Road side.
Okay.
That area's been woods for my whole life, and my mother, I'm speaking on behalf of her, and she's very anxious about what's going to be there and how it's going to affect her. And we have been approached, my family's been approached many times from various people asking to buy the property, buy our house. They have proposed enormous things, or they have proposed small things, and rumors are just amok in the neighborhood, and we just don't know what to expect.
Bridget, can you bring the map up here and just put it on the...
I'll put it.
What is your address again?
1570 Millwood Place. The county, if in fact, I put very simply, we live just before the area of woods and the road, and it's never been developed. So should that property be sold, or the county sell it, the whole area of the road, it would take half of what my mother considers her front yard, which is not her front yard. It is county property. But it's not so much taking that, it's the fact that a huge house or several huge houses running so close to hers, and then the alternative to these large houses was that they said they would put up a huge privacy fence, just upsets her. And
Is y'all's property at 1570?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And it runs the whole length. We have the front lot, and then they have a great big backyard.
You see it right there, right.
Yeah, so because it's so close to us, and also, it's not my point to speak on behalf of Matt. What is Matt's last name? Anyway, Matt, our neighbor, he lives across the street from where this will be, and he couldn't be here, he's out of town, but he asked us to find any information we could.
Okay.
And let him know. And so we just, as I said, we've heard so many things, we just don't know. And if we did, we wonder, when DeKalb County had it, I know that she had to sign, and she refused to sign.
Okay.
And now that it's not under DeKalb County and it's under Brookhaven, we're also not certain as to how that affected it all. And I assume that now it falls under Brookhaven, and we don't know how things work. And
If I
so
may.
that's really it, if you could just address
Jim's
those.
going to speak, and you can still have some remaining time if you want to stay up there, if you have any follow-up
okay.
questions.
Okay.
First of all, the right-of-way has been transferred from DeKalb County to the city of Brookhaven. So we are now the owners, so DeKalb County is out of the picture. What this action does is we're selling 0.152 acres of right-of-way from the city of Brookhaven to the adjacent landowners. There are 3 lots that this 0.152 acre parcel abuts. As I understand it, and plans have not been submitted, but the plans that I've seen from the builder suggest that they're going to build 1 house on 3 lots.
Richard, can you point out what Jim's talking about so this nice lady can see?
They're going to build 1 house on 3 lots. That house will be separated from your mother's property, not from what she considered, but from her property by a 60-foot right-of-way. There will continue to remain a 60-foot right-of-way that is the extension of Alta Vista from Milan Place to Dresden. That's not going away. It's being reduced in size because it was very wide. It's being reduced, but there still is a 60-foot. So at the end of the day, the new house that's being proposed will be further away than the house that's immediately adjacent to you at 1560 up the hill, and almost further away than the house that's across the street from your mother. Because the house across the street from your mother, there's a 60-foot right-of-way and it's set back from the road. The same will apply to this house. So the new house that's being built will be much further than the house immediately to her as you're facing the house to the left, and almost as far away as the houses immediately across the street. So, but 1 house on 3 lots, plus the 0.152 acres that is being sold by the city of Brookhaven.
Yeah. Can I speak?
Yes. I'm sorry.
Okay. The concern, since I've lived there, I'm not speaking in terms that are probably, the way that it should be said, but actually the majority of this land is a creek and a swamp, because I played there when I was a child. And the fear, and I think the reasoning and the concern about it all is that the only way you can get enough dry land to really usefully probably put up a house, and I don't know this, is to come very close to our house, because that's the dry, flatter land. Otherwise, I don't see how you could.
They're maintaining a 60-foot right-of-way between your mother's property line and the new property line of the house. So yes, it will come up the hill, and it will be. But they're respected. There's a stream buffer along the creek, a 75-foot stream buffer that they're not going to encroach in. But the house, so if you look at the map that's being held up there, you'll see you're at 1570.
Yeah.
Between you and what shed the green blob is the property that's being sold.
Right.
If you see between your mother's house and the green,
property line.
there's a road, there's a 60-foot strip. That 60-foot strip will remain. So it's not coming. If you go out in your front yard and go down toward the curve of Alta Vista,
Right.
we're going to test how well you know. There's a couple water valves out there in the road.
I know them. Yeah.
Those water valves are about where that green line comes down. So from those water valves toward your mother's house, nothing is going to happen.
Okay,
From those
that's very
water
clear.
valves
Yeah.
the other direction is where this land is being sold, and the as a point of reference, and I had to sort of figure that out when I was out there looking at stuff. Those water valves are plus or minus
Right.
where it begins and ends, if that
Right.
makes sense.
One other question, if you'll allow me. I'm
You can have 3 or 4 if that's what it takes to
speaking
answer your
again
question.
because I grew up there and have lived there my whole life. All of these often elderly people that live around us ask questions, and on their behalf. Another question that often comes up is opening this up to building. Is it going to open up all of the other lots behind it, which would affect the holidays? And what is your address?
1563 Dresden.
1563 Dresden, which is behind our house, but on the Dresden Drive side. Is that going to open all that up? Because all the people that own all these lots are like, what's going to happen?
Not unless somebody elects to build a road, because right now, unless somebody wants to pay for a road to extend either, there is a right of way there. There is a county right of way, and somebody could have the right or the opportunity to come in and build that road. However, economics are such that it probably won't happen, because the lots on the low side of Alta Vista have the same problem that these do. They're all impacted by the creek, they're all impacted by floodplain, and they're probably not usable.
And they don't have the extra space that this one does.
That's correct. So that really leaves only the one lot that's between your mother and the folks on Dresden. And from an economic standpoint, it doesn't make sense to build a road to serve that one lot. So while I can't say it's not going to happen, the numbers don't make sense. And I've built a lot of roads, and I can, unless the land values in Drew Valley go through the roof, then it doesn't make sense. So at this time, there's going to be no road construction, and the road right-of-way will be there, and the opportunity for somebody to do that at some later date, but there's no plans for that to happen at this time.
Okay, I'm going to step down. I'm scared to death to get up here.
And if y'all have any comments or questions, you can come up too.
This is Miss Holliday's daughter, and
Okay.
she owns the lot directly behind ours. I think it's...
Okay.
You have the garden that's on the right-of-way.
We own 1563 Dresden Drive.
Okay.
And we also own the adjacent lots across Alta Vista Road that faces Dresden Drive and the one just behind it.
1573,
I believe it's 1573.
and then 2551, Alta Vista.
Yes. I'm not sure it's 25. If I can see the map,
Yeah,
I
can you-
would point it out.
1573 would be at Dresden Drive.
1563, we own 1573 and 2551.
Okay.
1573 and 2551 are in
Okay.
floodplain.
Right.
That's correct.
And we back up to the Kennedys. I represent my mother and hoping that this road is not cut through. We've maintained this property, we've maintained this road for 58 years.
You've got a great garden in there.
Thank you, whoever said that. Was that
Yeah,
you?
I've noticed it several times.
Yes. We approached DeKalb County in 2006 to buy that property. We were given a price at that time, but it never went before the Board of Commissioners. Don't know what happened. Just never got to the Board of Commissioners. But we had hoped just to increase my mother's property since they had owned it for so long. And it's a sentimental thing for them. It's not an economical thing at all. Or anyway.
I understand.
So we're hoping, I would assume that anyone who had the funds to open this road would be the city of Brookhaven. It would not be an individual property owner. And none of those lots down there are buildable.
There is no, and I'm going to speak.
Please do.
Personally, but I'm not as a. There is no reason for the city of Brookhaven to open that. We, at this point, we may see something off in the future, but right now we've got adequate access back North Thompson, or back Thompson Road, excuse me, to Dresden.
Right.
And there's a two-way in and out, so it's not like we need it for fire access or anything. There's, Milan and Alta Vista form a nice little cul-de-sac, a nice little loop road. So from a fire standpoint, there's no emergency reason to open that up. And going back to your original question, if you'd like to petition, we now know what that right-of-way is worth.
Oh, do you?
So if you'd like to petition to the city to acquire it, we certainly will consider it, as we did with this application. It's just, if you write a letter to Richard Mahan, and Richard, would you give her one of your cards?
I've talked to Mr. Meehan.
She has my contact.
Okay, yeah, just, if you write a letter to Richard, that will initiate the process, and, we can see if it's something, but, at this point, I don't think the city of Brookhaven is in the road building business.
Right.
So, I think you can, you and your mother can rest assured that there won't be pavement coming through there anytime soon. And like I said, if you want to write a letter to Richard and ask us to consider abandoning that, then he now knows what the process is, and also has a price just by virtue of what has been established for this little piece that's being sold here.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Anybody else? All right.
Tom Shepard, 1672 Foresta Court. Could I actually have the...
Are you speaking as a neighbor? Or on behalf of somebody?
As a resident of Brookhaven.
Okay.
And I'm not addressing this exactly specifically to this case and making a very specific point, as I think this makes a great general example that we should take into account.
This is a public hearing for this specific case?
Okay, I apologize. I'll
Go
apply
ahead.
it to this specific case. We'll be starting a comprehensive plan soon. And as a new city, we're looking at a lot of instances where DeKalb plan roads created lots, created a lot of elements that we've inherited that, as Jim stated in the meeting, that aren't developable because they didn't plan for stream buffers, et cetera, et cetera. So I laud the attitude that is being taken with this parcel. My only question is, there's a lot, we're starting a new city, we're gonna have a lot of these discussions. There's a lot of property owners here. Is there an idea, has the city discussed, does this right-of-way, which I think everyone would probably agree should be condemned and made better use, does it make sense for a linear trail park, connecting to those areas? Would the community like that? Should it be disposed of between all the property owners so that the city can basically say, hey, we're gonna come up with a plan to dispose of this en masse so that, this person doesn't, on the right side, they get to win additional property rights and an upzoning and a giving. But the person on the left now doesn't have an opportunity for that giving because that right-of-way now has to be maintained because of what it is. It's currently still planned and zoned as a road. You can't block it off completely without a greater plan because that would then isolate these lots, which you can't do. So you're granting this person the upzoning so their land is more developable. But the person on the left now can't get that block of land until you dispose of the whole thing.
I think if they applied.
No, they can't because it would block off the road.
You might be on the left hand side of the street? Or
Yeah,
if this person now wanted this,
So
you could
using
just grant this person this because it would block off this road. So you're favoring this property owner over this property owner once you do this.
So using that same line of thought, if 1570 applies for it, then you shouldn't grant it to them either because it's going to eliminate 25, 19, 23, 27, 33 from acquiring the excess right-of-way.
yes, I agree, unless the city looked at it comprehensively and said, it makes sense to condemn this whole road. How can we partition it up and do it as a group thing and make it as an option in that fashion? So I think that's something that when we're looking at parks, when we're looking at land we want to conserve, when we're looking at wanting to do trails, we're all going to talk about that in our comprehensive plan. So I just say let's use caution in making decisions that 3 months from now we might go, wow, I wish we hadn't done that because it would have been easier to do this, this, and this. Now that we're starting to look at parks, now that people are weighing in on what we want to do with parks, where we want trail connectivity. So.
Thank you, Tom.
It's a good suggestion.
Thanks, Tom.
We got one more. All right.
My name's Rick Glisson. I'm representing the buyer on this transaction with Haven Real Estate Investments. We're also planning on building one home there that's around 3,000 to 3,500 square feet that will fit in well with the area. I just wanted to mention some of the hardships that the seller is having. He's owned the property for a long time. He actually lives right up the street and is in poor health. Recently, he's had this under contract multiple times. Could never sell it because of the stream buffer that Jim referred to. And that's the reason we're trying to purchase this right away, is just to get that little extra room so we can buy that from him and he can, continue to move on. But anyway, just wanted to mention all that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Thank you for all the public comments on this, and thank you for bearing with us and us doing this the first time. We've never had a public hearing in this manner, so thank you. All right, there's no other action needs to be taken on this, or will we vote on it?
Close the public hearing.
Close the public. Is there a motion to close the public? Is that the motion, Matt? No. Just close the public. Closing that public hearing. All right. Do we vote on this resolution at all?
There was a motion and a second.
Okay.
Out.
The motion and second is still there. All right. Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Clerk, please enter the minutes that the motion is passed. All right, number 5.
Number 5, Mr. Mayor, is a resolution 2013-0502, resolution for the assessment of the annual cost of maintaining and operating traffic calming measures in established traffic calming districts. Mr. Meehan, the Public Works Director, will present this matter.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is the annual assessment that DeKalb County has done in the past for traffic calming measures for the speed humps and traffic calming islands within the city. This is an assessment that has been paid to DeKalb County in the past, but now that these roads are owned by the city of Brookhaven, we are taking over maintenance of those items and taking over the collecting the fee for the maintenance of those items. And this is just the resolution that adopts the streetlight districts that were previously adopted in DeKalb County. All the property owners in here have been paying this fee to DeKalb in the past, and it's the same $25 a year that they have paid in the past.
All right.
So you meant the traffic calming, not the street lights.
Traffic calming, I'm sorry.
So this is just people that live near or neighborhoods that have, get that please. People that live near traffic islands, speed tables, or speed bumps are currently paying a fee, and they had been paying a fee to DeKalb County of $25 a year to maintain those. Now that's being transferred to the city of Brookhaven, we're going to be maintaining those and accounting for those funds.
Yes.
And using those funds to continue to maintain those traffic calming devices.
Yes.
Any more discussion?
Is this, this comes on your annual tax bill?
Yes, it will. It's a special assessment fee that is billed through the property tax bills.
So this is time sensitive to get it to the assessor?
Yes, we have a deadline.
I do want to, just one point of discussion on it, that this is, I consider a temporary fix for the speed humps. There are some islands, but as we do the comprehensive plan traffic study, we're going to look at other ways to slow down traffic. Might not be speed humps everywhere throughout the city.
Right. All right. Any, all in favor of adopting the resolution, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Didn't somebody move it?
I move that we adopt Resolution 2013-05-02.
Thank y'all for stopping me.
Resolution for the assessment of the annual cost of maintaining and operating traffic calming measures in established traffic calming district.
I second.
Any more discussion? We were in discussion, that's why I thought it was. Okay. All in favor of adopting the resolution, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Clerk, please enter the minutes that this resolution is passed. All right.
Mr. Mayor, item number 6 is a resolution 2013-0503. A resolution providing for the assessment of the annual cost of maintaining and operating streetlights in established streetlight districts. Mr. Meehan, please.
Yes. Again, this is a fee that was charged by DeKalb County in the past, which pays for the streetlights in the residential districts of the city. All of this fee is to adopt that fee, and in the past, DeKalb County had collected this fee and had paid for the streetlights. Now, City of Brookhaven has taken over the cost of the maintenance of the streetlights, and we have the right to collect this fee now, and this is the resolution that will set that up.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Meehan? Okay. Is there a motion on the floor?
I'll move that we adopt resolution 2013-05-03, providing for the assessment of the annual cost of maintaining and operating streetlights in established streetlight districts.
Is there a second?
I second.
Discussion?
I just want to commend our city staff and city manager for taking a very fair approach to the assessment of these streetlights, making it equitable both for residential property owners and commercial property owners, whereas DeKalb County had put the full burden on the residential owners. So thanks for doing that.
Thank you, Marie. Yes. And staff.
Yes, that's staff for sure.
All in favor of passing the resolution, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Clerk, please enter the minutes as is passed. Number 7.
Number 7 is a resolution 2013-0504, resolution to join National Flood Insurance Program. And Ms. Cannon, please.
This resolution is to join the National Insurance Flood Program. This program is at no cost to the city. This allows for the city to receive flood insurance rate maps prepared by FEMA to help us in discerning areas that we need to protect. It identifies flood-prone areas, and it also helps in insurance rating purposes.
Thank you. Sounds pretty simple.
Yeah, really.
Any discussion? Is there a motion on the floor?
Yes, I will move to adopt ordinance resolution 2013-05-04, resolution to join National Flood Insurance Program.
Seconded.
Any discussion? All in favor of adopting the resolution, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Clerk, please in the minutes of this passed. All right, we need an amendment to the agenda.
Yes, Mayor and Council, I know this is time for other business. So what I'd ask you to do at this point in time is to have a motion to amend the agenda to introduce an emergency ordinance, which I will pass up, as well as a first read on an ordinance, which I will pass up.
All right.
Who would like to make the motion?
Jim.
Is this it right here?
So what you do is just say, I make a motion to amend the agenda, emergency ordinance, and we read ahead.
I make I'm making a motion here for an ordinance to amend the agenda, to add, and then ordinance number will be assigned, an emergency ordinance to amend Chapter 15, Licenses, Permits, and Miscellaneous Business Regulations, Article 12, Sexually Oriented Businesses of the Code of the City of Brookhaven by adding a definition of quote-unquote feature, by amending the definition of sexual device shop, and by adding space requirements for sexually oriented businesses, to provide for repeal of conflicting ordinances, to provide for an adoption and effective date, to provide for codification, and to provide for other lawful purposes.
Is there a second?
A second.
Any discussion? All in
Further amendment, please.
Okay. Do we not vote on that one before we do the further amendment?
Well, we can amend what we're doing is we're just amending the agenda.
Okay, right, we're amending the agenda.
Okay, so I'm making a motion to
Amend the motion since you already have a second, or can we withdraw the second?
I'll withdraw the second.
Thank you.
So you want to further add?
I'll further add to the request to pass ordinance, to add to the agenda, ordinance number yet to be numbered, an ordinance to amend Chapter 15, Licenses, Permits, and Miscellaneous Business Regulations, Article 12, Sexually Oriented Businesses of the Code of the City of Brookhaven by adding a definition of feature, by amending the definition of sexual device shop, and by adding spacing requirements for sexually oriented businesses, to provide for repeal of conflicting ordinances, to provide for an adoption of and effective date, to provide for codification, and to provide for other lawful purposes. Is there a third?
Seconded.
Any discussion? All in favor of amending the agenda as stated by Councilman Gavin, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we've amended the agenda.
At this point in time, these would be the next two items on the agenda. And on the emergency ordinance, and we'd like to go ahead and present also on the first read of the regular ordinance, we're going to need to have some data put in, and I'm going to introduce Mr. Berthold now to go ahead and put in the underlying data that supports the two ordinances.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I just wanted to take a few minutes to address the ordinances that are before you tonight. As you know, they are an amendment to Chapter 15, Article 12, the Sexual Oriented Business Licensing Ordinance that the city adopted in January. At that time, we told you that we were still gathering data on GIS information from DeKalb County and recreating data. And this updates that ordinance as we envisioned back in January. And what I want to do is just make a short presentation, not unlike one that you've heard on multiple occasions before regarding the negative secondary effects of sexually oriented businesses. The cornerstone in this case law area is Renton versus City of Renton versus Playtime Theaters, where the Supreme Court said that a city like Brookhaven can rely on the experiences of other jurisdictions in adopting regulations. This body has previously done that in December and January of December 2012 and January of 2013. The city compiled an extensive legislative record from data from everywhere from Forest Park, Georgia to Fulton County, Georgia to Sandy Springs, Georgia to cities across the country. It was very voluminous and it covered all the various types of evidence that the courts have said legislative bodies can rely upon in adopting regulations, including negative impacts on surrounding properties, evidence going to personal and property crimes, sexual crimes, illicit drug use and trafficking, as well as the litter, aesthetic, and negative economic impacts on development in surrounding areas. The courts have recognized a lot of sources for these types of data, including land use reports, crime impact reports, judicial opinions, expert reports, and anecdotal data, such as affidavits documenting illegal behavior. And the Brookhaven legislative record that has already been considered by this body and that I'm summarizing again for you tonight has approximately 3,000 pages spread across 45 documents, and they vary in size and scope and type, but they have a common denominator, or a thread that runs so true, and that is the adverse secondary effects associated with adult businesses. I also mentioned for you in a prior discussion the November 2012 issue of Crime and Delinquency that talked about a study, a very well-written hierarchical regression study of crime in and around adult businesses in Louisville, Kentucky, documenting the increased victimization risk that occurs as you approach an adult use establishment. We talked about the specific types of secondary effects and the legislative rationale for regulating those. We've also, in our prior discussions, talked about how the courts have recognized a broad leeway given to legislative bodies in regulating the time, the place, and the manner of adult businesses operation. You can't ban adult businesses, but you can regulate their hours of operation, that's the time. You can regulate their place, that's the location, and then you can regulate the manner in which they operate, the conduct rules that apply to establishment, the licensing or background check requirements. And the courts have said that those types of considerations and the evidence that have been compiled not only by other municipalities, but also in the courts, in those judicial decisions, justify regulation. And so not only from a licensing perspective, which is what this ordinance does, but consistent with data that we continue, preliminary data that we continue to update and receive, we're adding buffer requirements for adult businesses. These are very consistent to what existed in the previous code. And we are also tweaking the definition to make sure that we have the most state-of-the-art definition available for sexual device shops. So it's relatively a housekeeping matter assigned to or related to what we talked about back in January. We have documented the negative secondary effects. I've already provided to Ms. Hyatt a copy of this PowerPoint presentation handout, as well as the CD-ROM, like the CD-ROM that you originally received way back in early December, documenting those negative secondary effects. And basically with that, I'm open for questions, but otherwise have no further comments.
So this ordinance is related to buffer zone between a sexually oriented business and a residential area or other types of sensitive areas.
That's right. It sets up a buffer to protect residential land uses, worship centers, schools, basically your sensitive land uses, as well as to prevent a red light district, i.e. Prevent a situation where you have a cluster of adult businesses.
Well, what is the distance?
The distance for a sexually oriented business to a sexually oriented business is 100 feet property line to property line. It's 300 feet from the adult business structure to a residential zone or a daycare or a church or a house of worship. And with that, I conclude my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion on the floor? Bill, do we have the
I do.
Okay.
I just made one moment.
Can you pass those up here?
Sure. I can give you a couple copies. I have a couple of copies of the emergency, and more copies of the first read, but they are the same. The difference is one says emergency.
No, we did this as an amendment.
That's right. It covers both, but Mr. Riley wanted me to get up and I don't know who's causing the feedback. If it's me, maybe a cufflink. But he wanted me to point out there's two ordinances. There's the emergency ordinance, and then there's the exact same ordinance for first read, the normal ordinance, amending the sexually oriented business licensing ordinance. I'll direct your attention to Section 6 of the emergency ordinance, which deals with the basis for the emergency. declaration says the city council hereby incorporates its previous findings and record documenting the negative secondary effects of sexually oriented businesses.
That's section what?
That's section 6, page 3, at the bottom of the emergency ordinance.
I don't have that on mine.
Which is the emergency?
You're probably looking at the original.
No, we had 2 copies of the emergency ordinance.
Yeah.
There's another copy there.
Yeah, it's section 6 of the emergency ordinance. It's page 3 at the bottom. It says, the city council hereby incorporates its previous findings and record documenting the negative secondary effects of sexually oriented businesses.
Gotcha. And hereby finds an emergency.
Yeah, that's right. You're there. And hereby finds an emergency existence in that the city should adopt regulations to protect the public health, safety, and welfare by seeking to prevent and control such documented negative secondary effects at the earliest possible point in time.
Terrace.
I'll read
Head
that last
southwest
portion.
down Northeast Expressway Northeast.
By seeking to prevent and control such documented negative secondary effects at the earliest possible point in time. That's part of the draft ordinance. It's just the emergency declaration. In the first ordinance, it doesn't exist in the second ordinance because that's the first reading of the
So the emergency is to have a buffer to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens.
That's correct, and to prevent the secondary effects that are documented in the 3,000-page legislative record at the earliest possible point in time. That's right.
All three is the emergency before the...
Okay.
So what do we do first, the ordinance or the emergency?
The emergency, what I'd like you to do is, as part of your, what I'd like you to do is go ahead and deal with 03 with a, if you will, a motion to adopt emergency ordinance 2013-05-03 and adopt it with the findings of, in the motion adopting the findings of fact that are contained therein. And if you'll pass that out, then the second one is just a first read of your regular 2-read ordinance cycle, and there's no other action required on that. You've already taken evidence. You're incorporating the evidence you took in January to amend it also. And then on the next time we come back, we'll present the second read for your adoption on a regular 2-read ordinance.
All right, so what is the first motion? It's a short Cliff Notes version.
Yes, please. The motion would be, let me see what the form of the motion would be, I'm moving to adopt ordinance number 2013-05-03, an emergency ordinance to amend Chapter 15, Permits and Miscellaneous Business Regulations, Article 7, Sexually Oriented Businesses of the Code of the City of Brookhaven, by adding a definition of feature, by amending the definition of sexual device shop, and by adding spacing requirements for sexually oriented businesses to provide for repeal of conflicting ordinances, to provide for an adoption and effective date, and to provide for codification, to provide for other lawful purposes, and further that we adopt all the findings of fact that are proposed within the text of the ordinance. That would be the motion.
Yeah. Do you need to have us read that, or do you, or is that read supposed to be?
I would prefer you to read it into the record.
Just so you know, you said Article 7 and it's Article 12.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're better than me. I can't read Roman.
Okay, so I'm going to do this.
Go ahead.
Right. Okay. I'm offering an amendment, a motion to adopt ordinance number 2013-05-03, an emergency ordinance to amend Chapter 15, Licenses, Permits, and Miscellaneous Business Regulations, Article 12, Sexually Oriented Businesses. You want me to read the whole thing or just close it out?
Just read the whole thing.
All right. Sexually oriented businesses of the Code of the City of Brookhaven by adding a definition of feature, by amending the definition of sexual device shop, and by adding spacing requirements for sexually oriented businesses, to provide for a repeal of conflicting ordinances, to provide for an adoption and effective date, to provide for codification, and to provide for other lawful purposes.
And you're incorporating.
And with findings and fact contained.
To incorporate as part of the findings of fact that are.
And to incorporate with the findings of fact contained within.
A second.
Any discussion? All I'll say is this is very complicated, and it's a lot of work we're doing up here. Everything we're doing is meant to provide for the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Brookhaven, and we've thought about it a long while. All right, we got the motions. All in favor of passing the emergency ordinance as stated by Councilman Gebbia, signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Madam Clerk, please enter in the minutes that the emergency ordinance is passed. All right, we're going to do this other one, right?
Next item is a first read of ordinance number 2013-0504, an ordinance to amend Chapter 15, licenses, permits, and miscellaneous business regulations, Article 12, sexually oriented businesses of the Code of the City of Brookhaven by adding definition of feature, by amending the definition of sexual device shop, and by adding spacing requirements for sexually oriented businesses, to provide for repeal of conflicting ordinances, to provide for an adoption and effective date, to provide for codification, and to provide for other lawful purposes. This is a first read.
Is there any requirement that the record be incorporated as well, the previous record on this one as well?
It's just a first read, and when we do the second read, we'll do the motion, and we'll ask you to incorporate, that you acknowledge that you've incorporated the statements that were made here tonight and the previous statements that have been presented to you on these issues before as part of your determination in passing this ordinance.
Okay.
That's all I have.
All right.
That's enough.
That's it? Okay. We're done? We're done, okay. On that. All right, any other business? Okay, we have another public comment section. So if anybody has anything that's sprung up in the last hour or so you want to talk about, please come up and do it. Thank you.
Members of the council, my name is Jim McKechnie. I live at 3110 Dixon Street here in Brookhaven. The first thing is, completely off the subject, I would like to compliment Ms. Chase and her performance at the last council meeting and filling in for you, Mr. Mayor.
A shot. I feel that is a shot.
It does say that you could be replaced. More specifically, I want to speak on the resolution that you just passed, 2013-05-04, which was joining the during FEMA, and would like to make a request as these things start to come together that the city of Brookhaven put online the GIS maps, the sewer maps, the blue water maps. We can all get that information from a number of different sites, but it'd be very nice to have everything together in one that just covers Brookhaven.
We had that topic discussion in our work session just a little while ago, and I'm not responding to any question or comment, I'm just saying what we did. Those exact things were discussed, and we're in the process of doing that.
Okay.
So all that data can be on one place, and you can go as a homeowner or resident to your parcel and see what's there.
Including satellite overlays.
Aerial flyover maps, the GIS.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, tonight wasn't my best performance, but I did need the shot.
It's my personal fan club.
Yes. Thank you.
I'll vote for that.
Jim and I worked together for 20 years.
Rebecca, that was a wave he just gave you.
He's a former ABC Newser.
Okay, all right. What was your last name?
McKechnie.
McKechnie, okay.
Oh, he's going to remember you. Watch out.
Sewage treatment plant on Dixon Street.
It's done. At the bottom of a hill, knock yourself out.
All right, any other public comments about anything? Anybody have anything else to say? All right. Closing the public comments period. Closed. Mayor's comments. I don't have any comments this time. I'm glad to be back, and I'm glad that Rebecca did such a good job at the last, where I was out of town with my family and my children. Going out of town tomorrow to Houston for a link trip, which is an Atlanta Regional Commission sponsored trip, which they're paying for, by the way. Where I want to meet all these folks from the Atlanta region and from the Southeast in general to go to Houston and find out about transportation options, find out about connectivity, all the latest trends in municipalities and what they're doing to improve their communities, and I'm excited about it. And thank you to Marie Garrett for getting me on this trip. Apparently, it was quite a task because people fight to get on it, and Brookhaven is going to be represented at this trip. So thank you for your work in doing that. And I will do my best and come home with something. I'll bring something.
Bring home the trophy.
You're right. Anybody else have any comments? We already got the Brookhaven Bolt. Yeah, Bates reminded me of this thing that I talked about from the very beginning is the gavel gang, where we're going to have anybody can just go through Susan Hyatt, the clerk. You can have your kids, anybody under the age of, what is it, 12? Probably 12 and under. Can come up and gavel in the council meetings or gavel us out. And we'll have pictures taken with the mayor and the council, and you can, it's just a really, I think kids would enjoy it, because I enjoyed doing that kind of stuff when I was a child at the Capitol with my father. So if you have any children or grandchildren or nieces or nephews or friends or neighbors that have kids that want to come do that, please do. And we'll have a professional picture taken and send it to you. Yeah. Oh, this is National Police Week. And we want to thank all the officers in Brookhaven and around the metro area for their service. And we're trying to highlight that this is Police Week. And if you see an officer driving down the street, stopped at Taco Bell, buy them their meal or something. Honor them. So we thank you for your service, and we thank you for what you're going to be doing for Brookhaven in the future. So, and welcome aboard to our newest members as well. I think that's it. I have no more comments. If anybody else doesn't have any comments? Dana, yes. Welcome to the town hall, but I want to welcome Dana, our newest employee.
Oh, yeah.
She's works with Megan, our stellar communications leader. She's going to be being in the city hall every day, working well, and she was in my office today pestering me for some quotes on something, so she's doing a good job. We appreciate your service here, Dana, and we look forward to working with you.
And Melissa Wyman has a new assistant with her tonight.
Oh, is that who that was? Melissa Wyman, our stellar award-winning, yes. Who's Who under 25, what was it? Who's Who, the National Congressional Medal of Honor, what'd you get? What was it? Atlanta Press Club gave Miss Wyman Rising Star. Yes. So don't forget us little people when you rise to the top.
Melissa, would you introduce your new assistant, please?
Oh, well, this is Hillary Buchik, who is our intern for the summer. She's a student at the University of Georgia, and she's
all right, like already
joining us and
Greedy school, huh?
Yeah,
good.
And helping out. So.
All right.
Get to go to all the exciting meetings.
That's right.
Yeah. Wow.
Excited to have her.
Buy some no-dos. Okay. Is there a motion for adjournment?
I move to adjourn.
Seconded?
Any discussion? All in favor of adjournment signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We're adjourned.